This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. Let me lay some groundwork. David Ricardo, English political economist, often credited with systematizing economics, one of the most influential classical economists, along with Thomas Malthus, Adam Smith, and John Stuart Mill. I'm going to quote from an 1838 book, The Great Metropolis, Volume 2. You're going to see that Ricardo had some classic trading rules that never went away. As I have mentioned the name of Mr. Ricardo, I may observe that he amassed his immense fortune by a scrupulous attention to what he called his own 3 golden rules, the observance of which he used to press on his private friends. These were: never refuse an option when you can get it, cut short your losses, let your profits run on. By cutting short one's losses, Mr. Ricardo meant that when a member has made a purchase of a stock and prices were falling, he ought to resell immediately. And by letting one's profits run on, he meant that when a member possessed stock and prices were rising, he ought not to sell until prices had reached their highest and were beginning again to fall. These are indeed golden rules and may be applied with advantage to innumerable other transactions than those connected with the stock exchange, end quote. I mean, of course, when he says other transactions beyond the stock market, he's talking about our lives too, our personal lives, relationships, businesses, anything. Now, in the context of this conversation, I'm talking about the market. Now, think about that. An 1838 book, the last I checked, it's 2022. A little bit of time ago, huh? I mean, seriously. We are bombarded daily with people telling us they know what's going to happen. Whether that's media people, whether that's political people, trading people, investing people, they've all got a story. And those stories are critical because those stories are used to gin up excitement and to gin up belief in markets. So instead of people thinking like Ricardo, I don't know why it's going down, I better get out, or I don't know why it's going up, but I better keep going with it, people want a pretty voice. They want a nice voice to tell them it's going to be okay. Just trust us. Now let's think about some of these voices that have been going on since, let's say, the Great Recession, circa 2008 to 2009. Now, in my book, Trend Following, just as a side tangent, I cover all of this interesting territory that took place over the decades, what I would call big events. In fact, it's chapter 4 of my book, Trend Following, my 5th edition of Trend Following. Now, what's interesting about these big events is it exposes how Ricardo's mantra, cut your losses short, let your winners run on, it exposes these storytellers, and it exposes the hardcore evidence about why my words today are accurate. Because at the end of the day, if I'm sitting here and I'm criticizing storytellers, but I don't have data to back my words, I'm just another asshole. Who the hell wants that? But let's talk about the storytellers for a second. Now, we can clearly see, if we take the time, these storytellers that tell us about the overall market or a particular stock, they're usually wrong every damn time. But in the middle of the excitement, no one stops to wonder what the hell's going on. I'll give you some examples. Moderna, the vaccine maker, the supposed wonder drug that will keep us all alive from the COVID flu. It's down 73% from its all-time high. Now, we can have debates about COVID. We can have, oh, this is my opinion, that's my opinion. Moderna stock is down 73%. That means people with their money don't believe in it. So you can have all the storytellers come on TV and pronounce whatever they want to pronounce. At the end of the day, Moderna is down 73%. That's money talking. That's not bullshit. That's money talking. The people, the investors, the traders don't believe in it. The story is gone. Now, you had two ways to play Moderna. You could have run it up as a trend-following trader, and you could have said to yourself, I got no idea whether this thing is going to go on forever or going to crash. And I'll just ride it as long as I can, like the David Ricardo rules from the 1838 book. But a lot of people didn't play it like that. A lot of people said, oh my God, I'm just going to buy Moderna. Look at Fauci on TV. He's telling me how great everything is. Just take more vaccines. Vaccines are going to go to the moon. Just trust in the leaders. Okay, when the hell do you get out of the Moderna? Well, if you're a trend-following trader, you had a plan. You got out when it reached its peak and it started going down. If you're a sucker sitting there listening to stories from politicians, well, maybe you made nothing. Maybe you lost a bloody fortune. Are you seeing how this game works with the storytellers? Another example, Netflix, down 73%. Another example, Robinhood, the trading company, down 72%. Peloton, down 87%. Wix, the website maker, down 78%. All of these companies had a story. They all had people spending boatloads of money on marketing to attract the people that don't want to accept David Ricardo's wisdom, to attract the people that think they must go through life finding a leader or a voice to tell them that it's okay and to just hold on forever. And then, after a certain point in time, it happens in every generation, the Grim Reaper comes in and cuts everyone off at the knees. And maybe these people don't ever learn a lesson. Maybe they don't ever get to Ricardo's lesson. I mean, Ricardo's lesson is Larry Height's lesson. It's Ed Sekoda's lesson. It's Tom Basso's lesson. It's Jerry Parker's lesson. It's Bill Dunn's lesson. It's David Harding's lesson. It's my lesson. It's your lesson if you're paying attention. Let me dig in a little bit more on some of these thought leaders, these storytellers that get the newbies in on these stories. Don't you ever consider their backgrounds? Let's just think about politicians in America in the last 25 years. What was, for example, Bill Clinton's background? What was George Bush Jr.'s background? What was Obama's background? What was Biden's background? These were not business people. These were politicians. I mean, everyone knows how politics works, right? You just go out there and you stand in front of people and you tell them that you're awesome and you're going to do something for them and you're going to take care of them and you're going to feed them and you're going to clothe them. And if the people are dumb enough, they vote for you. But those names that I just mentioned, go look at their Wikipedia pages. They did not achieve anything. Just talkers. Just talkers. And you can guarantee if we go through the historical record, every one of those people at various points in time were making bets on the economy, so to speak. They were telling you, trust them. And as I outlined in my book, Trend Following, whether it was the Great Recession, whether it was the dot-com bubble, whether it was long-term capital management in the late 90s, whether it was the Asian contagion in the late 90s, Barings Bank, or Black Monday, the 1987 stock crash, or right now, the first 3 months of 2022. The first 3 months of 2022 is another one of these big events. Another one of these big events that the politicians in control told you was A-OK before January, February, and March of 2022 and April of 2022, frankly. The performance data for a lot of the big funds is not yet in as of the moment of recording this, at least the performance data for April, but it's going to look very similar to those first 3 months of 2022. So the first 4 months of 2022 are absolutely a big event that could be added into chapter 4 of my book, Trend Following. It's another classic big event. And that big event is doing what? It's wiping out all of the stories, all of the narratives, and all of the bullshit, in many instances, going back a very long time. Now, here's the kicker. Could we be in a situation where markets are gearing up to have another 50% plus drop like in 2008? I mean, of course, I just rattled off examples. Many individual stocks are down just like .com stocks right now. But the overall broad market index, could that drop minus 50%? Why not? Could the NASDAQ go down minus 77%? Why not? Just like 2002, right? So what's your plan? Now here you are. You just trusted some of these voices, whether it's politicians or media people, these people that have no achievement in their background. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Oh, I mean, they know what the fuck they're talking about. They're convincing you to be a sucker, to believe them, and that's your strategy for investing. And then one day you wake up, it's the first 4 months of 2022, and that David Ricardo wisdom from 1838 is kind of important again. I mean, it's always important. But when you get these periods, for example, let's say from March of 2009 until right now, get a situation where interest rates are kept at zero, not by the market, but by the government, by politicians trying to win elections. When interest rates are kept like that, guess what happens? Shit happens. Funny stuff happens. People get suckered. And then, again, here we are, 2022, and the piper has to be paid. The first time I saw this, and what I mean by this is panic, the first time I really saw the panic into trend following was 2002. That was the first time. In 2002, you could see that people finally, after having seen the .com bubble blow up, and then 2 years of just decimation, an entire generation, from my perspective, was at least open to something else. I guess I shouldn't say the entire generation, but many were open to something else. And I saw this trend following interest was really on fire at that moment in time. But we all know, because we saw the Big Short film, we know what happened. We know what the lead up was to 07, 08, 09. Now, where's the Big Short Part 2? I mean, the Big Short Part 2 never stopped. That's 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And here we are today, 2022. And all of those voices that have told you for over a decade, trust us, it's going to be okay. You don't have to think. You don't have to understand the wisdom of David Ricardo from 1838. You don't have to understand the wisdom of trend following. That's not needed. Just trust us. It's quite terrible if you think about it that so many people just get suckered. It's an awful society that people at the top do this on purpose. This is not just, hey, we have good intentions, let's hope, and you probably should buy Peloton. It's going to go to 10,000 per share. You should invest in Moderna. We know it's going to go up forever. I mean, people don't believe this shit. They do it because they want to sucker you. They want to take your money. They want to steal your money. That's what this game is. Now, what's cool about trend following is trend following sits outside of that. Trend following sits on the sidelines and says, I can't control what these fools are going to do. I can't control what the new stock market promoters are going to do. The new DiCaprios like Wolf of the Wall Street. I can't control that. I can't control what the body public, basically people that don't want to think, I can't control what they're going to do. Can't control a damn thing. Side tangent, go read Ed Sekoda's book, Gavopoly. Check it out for sure. But you can't control any of this stuff as a trend following trader. And you're sitting on the sidelines and you're saying, okay, my gosh, this looks like utter chaos. How can I trade chaos? How can I put myself in a position like I just rattled off all of these great big events of the last 50 years? And trust me, trend following events where people have been making big money, that goes back far, far, far than 4, 5, 6, 7 decades. Hundreds of years, if not thousands. Is there data for thousands? I tell you what, why don't you go check out my particular page, trendfollowing.com/events. Free page, a hell of a lot of white papers and interesting research that if you're curious about these big events going back over time, there's all the evidence you might want. But a trend following trader sits on the sidelines of the stock market promoters and the puppets that believe them, controlled by them, and says, what can I do with all this information? What can I do with all this stock market and futures market activity, commodity market activity, currency market activity, Bitcoin market activity? What can I do with it if I don't have a story? What can I do with it if I don't have a prediction? What can I do with all of this data? I mean, you're sitting there in the cockpit and you got all this data coming at you, right? What can you do with it? I mean, instinctively, most people think they have to know where it's going. And trend following traders don't have a fucking clue where anything's going. But what they have is a rule set grounded in David Ricardo's wisdom, where it's like, hey, I'm going to take a position in whatever market. If it goes against me, I'm out. If it starts going my direction and starts trending, I'm going with it until it reaches a peak, and then I'm getting out. Now, of course, you got to have concrete rules with numbers, not hard to find, that allow you to do Ricardo's wisdom. But isn't that like a nicer way to live? A more interesting way to live? I mean, who the hell wants to be at the mercy of listening to a Clinton or a Bush or an Obama or a Biden? I mean, these are people that literally, if you look at their resume, have no experience other than being politicians. Now, look, I specifically avoided somebody because there is a side of me that likes that he was different. But Trump was also guilty of telling stories. But he was a businessman. He was an entrepreneur. And there is something to be said about that. Now, maybe he was not the perfect one for America. Maybe he was the perfect one. That's not the debate. But every country would probably, if they get kind of these honest, which might be an oxymoron, but if you can get honest people, good people to come into public service to lead, who have an entrepreneurial background, who have a speculative background, and are willing to not tell the people bullshit to get votes, then, and only then, from a society perspective, we've made progress. But if we stay in this place of allowing just idiots and losers across politics, economics, and media to tell the stories, to spin the stories, and those stories will last for 4, 5, 10 years or whatnot, and then all of a sudden, like I said, the Grim Reaper comes in and takes it all back. It's not a nice way to live. I mean, you can go and make a bunch of money in your 20s or 30s or 40s or whatnot, even your 50s, 60s. Then you start taking on some crazy strategies and you can lose your life's work. And when I say crazy strategies, this could be listening to the politicians, listening to the economist, getting caught up in all this political theater. And then we're back to David Ricardo's rule from the 1800s. Cut your losses short. Let your profits run on. I mean, I can expand that out. Larry Hite loves to do this. Look at relationships. You start dating somebody. If it doesn't work, get out. Try again. If it doesn't work, get out. Try again. Don't try to make it work. Don't create a story in your head. We're much better off as humans cutting the excess weight and starting over. And when you start over, you're not starting over in the same market necessarily. Could be an entirely different market group. This is the amazing thing about trend following. You're not waking up every year, every month or whatever. You're not waking up and saying, I must make money in this particular market. You might be thinking to yourself, where has all of this trend following profit come from in the first 4 months of 2022? I mean, this is historical profit, huge returns. Well, you should just ponder what's been trending. That's the way trend following works. When the big moves happen, trend following traders are there. And when big moves happen opposite to a buy and hold strategy or opposite a listen to the politicians, economists, and media strategy, you just lose it all. Up the escalator, down the elevator. Markets are not efficient. Whatever they might have told you in school, whatever you might hear on the TV, the radio, or a podcast, there is only one solid foundational way to trade where you can apply the scientific method to come up with a rule set and not only survive, but thrive and prosper. Trend following is the only way to do that. And here's the great thing I'll leave you with. It's never too late. It's never too late to stop everything you have done and switch to trend following, to switch to a systematic mindset, to switch to a mindset where you have a rule set that you stick with. It's never too late. Nobody wants to go broke. Nobody wants to lose their life's work. But, if 2022, so far, the first 4 months, are not teaching you a lesson, you're going to go broke. So the question becomes, do you want to thrive or do you want to die, economically speaking? It's your call. It's your choice. Pony up, make a bet. I'll see you on the other side. I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.